Reform UK is one of the most controversial names in British politics today. Depending on who you ask, they're either the common sense alternative to a broken system or a dangerous far-right movement, dragging Britain into intolerance. But the question I want to ask today is quite simple really. Is Reform UK actually a racist party, or are they being unfairly branded by the media and progressive woke ideologies? We're going to also answer the question of where exactly do they sit on the political spectrum. To understand Reform UK, we have to look back. They began in 2018 as the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage's vehicle to push the UK out of the European Union. They won the largest share of the vote in 2019 in the European elections, but failed in the general election later that year. After Brexit was technically done, they rebranded as Reform UK in 2021. Their pitch shifted, no longer just about leaving Europe, but about fixing a political system that many voters saw as corrupt, elitist and out of touch. Reform UK's policies are often painted as extreme, but in truth they're quite a mixed bag. On economics, they want to raise the income tax threshold, cut inheritance tax, abolish stamp duty on most homes, and they also talk about lowering fuel duty and scrapping net zero commitments. Populist, yes, but highly fringe. On immigration, they've taken a harder line, from freezing non-essential migration to proposing deportation of those here illegally. That's the part that grabs headlines, but when you look closer, their manifesto isn't a fascist wish list, it's more of a combination of small c conservative economics, law and order rhetoric, and populist frustration at the bureaucracy. To call this far right puts them in the same box as openly extremist parties, which just simply isn't accurate. So, to put it clearly, Reform UK are more of a right-leaning party with a focus on populist views, conservative economics, and maintaining traditional British culture. Of course, the reason so many call Reform racist is the rhetoric on immigration. Critics argue that talking about invasions across their channel, quote unquote, or promising mass deportations actually fuels racial tension. However, it does make you wonder the cultural change the world has gone through for following immigration laws to be seen as racist. Groups like the National Education Union have gone so far as to brand them as a racist organisation, and yes, Reform has had scandals. Candidates were caught posting racist, homophobic and Islamophobic comments online. Some even resigned from the party, citing bigotry amongst its members. These stories matter and they can't just be dismissed. But here's the part that's often left out. When those scandals surfaced, Reform acted. Candidates like Edward Oakenfold, Robert Lomas and Leslie Liley were removed. Others resigned after the party investigated. Nigel Farage has been clear though. If you hold racist or bigoted views, there is no place for you in Reform UK. That's not the behaviour of the party encouraging racism, it's the behaviour of a party trying to keep its house clean. Yet the media rarely highlights these disciplinary actions, and instead the narrative becomes Reform equals racist. Now, let me just remind you, people who are actually indeed racist, or parties in this sense, don't try and hide it. They will actually show it to try and get more people on board with their views. Therefore, I don't actually believe Reform is a racist party. But is it true that they are a far-right party? Just like the media loves to claim. Labelling Reform as far-right doesn't hold up under scrutiny either. Economically, they're not ultra-liberal free marketers, they mix tax cuts with populist redistribution. Culturally, they are conservative but not unique. Their immigration policies, while controversial, are echoed by policies in Denmark, Italy, and even under Labour and Keir Starmer, who has vowed to send anyone that comes here illegally back, although I don't really know how much he believes that himself. Calling Reform far-right just for wanting to enforce immigration law stretches the term so thin that it basically loses all meaning, which is why people are not scared of these labels anymore. Here's the danger though, when every tough stance on immigration is branded racist, it doesn't defeat Reform, it strengthens them. It only reinforces their beliefs that the political class is out of touch, that the media is hostile, and that only Reform is brave enough to say what people are thinking. In reality, Reform isn't free of flaws. Some of their ideas are unworkable, others feel cruel in practice, but calling them something they're not, such as racist, fascist or far-right extremists, shuts down debate, and it leaves ordinary voters stuck between two echo chambers. I'm very much against absolutism arguments, such as every person who votes Reform is racist, or every person who votes Labour is this and that. If you actually want to keep an open mind, go and watch some far-right or fascist viewpoints, and then come back to the more neutral views, and you'll be surprised how much more reasonable they are. And the same goes for right-leaning viewers on this channel. So is Reform actually racist? No. They punish members with racist views, their official policies sit to the right, but not the extremist end of the spectrum, and the constant mislabelling from their opponents, press and media does more harm than good. That doesn't mean Reform should escape criticism, Their immigration policies can be harsh, their rhetoric can sometimes be labelled as inflammatory, but if you want real answers, real accountability and real debate, then we need to call things what they are. Not what the easiest to shout in a comment section or a headline is, because the truth is Britain doesn't need more labels, it just needs more honesty and debate.